Alright everyone, it's time for the Occult video 241, the fake dumb morality of the masses. Now, let me start this off with a pair of caveats. I don't like to judge people as collectives because I'm very individualistic, like, I oppose communism because I'm sane. At least to that extent, I'm reasonable. I don't like to do that, and I also don't like to judge people even as individuals unless I'm actually aware of their situation fully. I feel like when you sort of jump into things without full knowledge, that's why the world is messed up, ultimately. The world is literally messed up because of ignorance more than anything else. Not even malevolence, just ignorance. More people do bad things because they're convinced that what they're doing is right based on faulty intel than because of psychopaths that go out and murder and rape and pillage because they're just evil. That's sort of the way you cast off things afterwards to try to take care of your children's fears when they worry about the fact that there are a bunch of psychos, a bunch of problems in the world. You just say, well, it's a handful of psychos doing it. You don't want to tell them that, no, fundamentally, most people are just dumb. They think they're doing what's right, and then you get Joseph Stalin. They think they're doing what's right, you get Pol Pot. That's basically what it boils down to. People are just ignorant. They're one step removed from their chimp-like ancestors. In the most literal sense, we're just a hominid branch anyway. We're apes with nuclear weapons. Thank goodness some people have a little bit more reasonable thought capability than that. Here's what I would say, though, with regards to morality. While I don't like to judge people, even in collectives, I would say that the collective morality of mankind is largely completely wrong. You think of it this way, moralism in the general essence. Most people that promulgate moral systems don't even partake in or believe in them. We've got a million examples of this throughout time. People always boil it down to like a partisan or a religious debate, like, oh, this religious group that I happen not to be part of, like the Christians, they killed a bunch of people while saying thou shalt not kill, or maybe a Christian says, well, these atheists, humanists over here, they said everything is great and people should love each other and love beads and stuff, and then they fucking shoot each other for communism. Really, that happens on all possible ends of every possible spectrum within politics and religion and stuff, and it happens for a reason. Partially, again, because of ignorance. Largely because people don't even believe in their own bullshit. They just don't believe in it. The leaders of any political movement tend to be separate from the movement that they themselves are leading, now don't they? The king says that this war will be great and glorious for our republic or for our kingdom or for our God, and yet they don't go and fight. And when they do, they sit in the back. And if they're expected to fight from the front, of course, they're going to be a little bit more careful what kind of battles they get involved in now, won't they? We've noted this throughout time. People, by the way, they won't even admit that this is the case. They won't admit that when they see some tearjerker ad on YouTube or whatever, they don't react to it. They say, oh, some kids were shot today. Oh, we need to change as a society. But they don't shed any tears. It's crocodile tears if they do. They don't really care, except to enforce their own political beliefs. The people who appeal to emotion most often, I often think that they're totally emotionless. When somebody cries a lot and says, well, how bad I feel about this group of people or this phenomenon or something, I have a feeling that most of those people are sociopaths incapable of actually feeling much of anything. And they're just using it. They want to make money off of, third world kids starving in Africa. They want to make money off of gift boxes to elderly Jews in Israel. They want to make money off of starting a war or even being anti-war, even anti-war movements. Here, buy my t-shirt that says no more war. It was made by child slaves in China that are 10 years old and work 10-hour days, 10 days a week. Well, that doesn't make any sense whatsoever. They're suffering just as badly. So why the fuck are you selling your stupid shirts? That's what the world boils down to. A bunch of hypocrites and ignoramuses, largely. It gets to the point where it becomes a philosophical difficulty for intelligent libertarians. I think sometimes they're like, I support maximized liberty. But there are so many people out there whose minds are so scrambled, I'm not 100% sure they're capable of existing under a libertarian system. At least in the maximized sense. You can certainly limit government of 90% more than we do currently and everything would be fine. But can you go further than that? Can you have anything beyond a more balanced libertarian society? Not even a monarchist society, but a classically liberal society where you're just rolling back government intrusion and trying to constrain things more. Constrain on individual liberty if you have the tyranny of a majority of people, with people acting like that, Are they going to act any differently in a decentralized manner than a state or a religion or some other control edifice would in a centralized manner? It becomes a philosophical debate. I'm not 100% sure at some times where I fall. I like the idea of maximized liberty. Ultimately, the best system, if you could manage it, would be anarchy. The unfortunate tendency is, of course, that devolves instantly into mob rule. The dude with the biggest muscles rules his group, or the person who is most skilled at building weapons ends up becoming the warlord and the next tyrant of society that opposes your anarchism, at least in spirit. And of course, whatever system they impose, its moral stringencies, which tend to be listed as objective, are ignored by those that are actually in control. The politician that makes great speeches about gun control, ultimately they're surrounded by guards with guns. That's basically what I'm pointing to. There's a reason for that. It's not just an empty statement of irony. It's an open and out hypocrisy that society would even allow such a thing to happen. We do not hold certain people to account in the same way that they openly announce that they wish that everyone would be held to account on. We're supposed to take them at their word. The worst people in society with the most potential for abuse, because they've got the most money and the most dogmatic power under a state or a religion, are the ones most often exempted by the masses from that same ethical discourse. That doesn't make sense. You should be excusing people who have nothing from that ethical discourse. Little kids or penniless widows and old shut-ins and stuff. You don't have to apply the moral laws to them so much because they have no ability to abuse a system in which there's not a whole lot of moralism. If they do anything, it's stealing a loaf of bread or public nudity or something like that. The politician acts badly, 1 million people die. Well, I would think that one of these things is not like the other. I think that we've got a topsy-turvy society, at least in certain ways. It's interesting that it's allowed to continue to exist by people throughout history. And that's a testament, I think, to human ignorance more than anything else. Even the educational system that was supposed to upraise people and give them a sense of civics and intellect and a drive to try to educate themselves more has fundamentally failed and been weaponized by those same dishonest individuals. I know this isn't strictly speaking an occult chat, but ethics and philosophy does figure into it. Figures into ritualism too. It's interesting how the people at the head of each supposed sacred mystic order, often they are misbehaving and they're not even following their own rules. You get some yogi or some priest somewhere, and the priest is diddling little boys, and the yogi is fucking the female members of his congregation, and that minister over there, she's doing weird shit with her dog, like a Klobuchar sort of deal. That happens all the time within religion. It happens all the time within spiritual systems. It's near constant. Very interesting statement on society at large. That's about all. Peace out.